Hello, knitters, and welcome to the Clarity Fiber Arts podcast. My name is Jody, and I'm a knitter and hand dyer coming to you from Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband Chris and our mini dachshund Fig. Welcome to all new viewers. If you're new to finding my little podcast here, I certainly am so happy that you are here. And to all returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back and checking out what I'm up to knitting wise and dyeing wise and things like that. I do own a small hand-dyed yarn business called Clarity Fiber Arts that can be found at clarityfiberarts.etsy.com. But for the most part, this podcast is about my own personal knitting, and mostly with that knitting, it's sweater knitting. I do not yet dye sweater weight yarn. I primarily keep it sock yarn. And I also crank some accessories from the hand-dyed sock yarn, such as socks and mitts and hats and things of that sort on my circular sock machine. And so at the end, typically, I may show you my new colorways and maybe some of the socks and accessories that I'm cranking with those colorways. All of that is available at my shop over on Etsy. So let's start today with finished objects. If you tuned in to the last podcast, I was just about ready to start the sleeves on my Alma pullover. This is a new design by Sari Nordlund, and it is a top-down pullover, very easy construction, and I knit mine in Barocco Mochi yarn, which is a chainette style yarn. Feels very much like a unspun yarn in its construction, but it does have a little bit more sturdiness in comparison to, let's say, like a Newton yarn or something like that. And so this is Barocco Mochi in the colorway Vanilla. And I'm gonna come in closer to the camera here so you can see. It has a little bit of ribbing on the yoke. It is designed to be a fold over collar. So in the pattern, at the end of the pattern, she instructs you to sort of fold down and tack down the collar with some sewing. However, I am such a lover of the turtleneck. When it gets cold around here, I wear a turtleneck almost all winter. So I love that nice huggy, snug feeling of having a turtleneck around my neck. This is a combination wool of baby alpaca and superfine merino, I believe it is. The other portion of it, I talked about it in my last episode, and so I put up on the screen the different fibers, but it's definitely baby alpaca and merino. It is quite warm. I've been running around gathering all my setup supplies to film here. We've been doing some Christmas light decorating outside, and so I've had just this on. It's about 50 degrees here in Pennsylvania, and I was quite snugly and warm just in this sweater. The yarn, the mochi yarn, has a very light sort of construction. It feels very light and airy when you're knitting with it, and it's got a beautiful halo. I don't know if you can see. Let me come in a little closer here. You can see that really nice halo. I have not worked with this yarn before. I did have some concerns as I was knitting with it that this, because of the fluffy construction, that the yarn might pill a little bit under the arms here and places where it sort of rubs and gets warm. I have blocked this sweater in a bit of cool water and some wool wash, and my goodness, it's probably from where I got it. When it arrived, my sweater's quantity, the bag looked kind of dirty, I guess, a little like almost like it had been it wasn't in smoke for sure. It did not smell like smoke, but the bag itself was just sort of gray and odd. And when I blocked and washed this yarn, so much like dirt came out of it, but could just be where I sourced it from. I'm not sure, but actually this sweater, the yarn lightened up when I washed and blocked it. And so I think it's even prettier than what it looked like before. And so I just blocked it in a little bit of soak wool wash. I use the scent Celebration, and I just think it's such a clean, delicious scent for a wool wash. And I think the combination of the sheepy, woolly smell of the yarn and the light scent of that Celebration soak wool wash makes things it just smells, oh, it smells so good. Oh, it just smells so good. I love it so much. And so, yeah, that is my Alma pullover. It's knit on size 10 needles. And it calls for size 10, and I got gauge with my Barocco Mochi yarn using the recommended needle size. I knit the size for a 44-inch bust. I believe it was a 40, I'm not sure what the exact size was. I'll have to relook at the pattern and put it down in the show notes. But I knit the size that would accommodate a 44-inch bust. And it does have a lot of ease to it. It's sort of a little bit, I wouldn't call it an oversized sweater, but I think the sleeves have plenty of room, and there's a little bit of room here on the sides. I'm gonna go ahead and stand up and show you the bottom. The only modification that I made to this pattern is that I went down a needle size from the recommended needle size, and you can kind of see I have some room here. Some people I've heard really prefer a sleeve that is not so tight. I actually prefer a sleeve that's snug. And so were I to knit this again, and I probably will knit this again, if the Mochi yarn holds up, I think that I will definitely re-knit this. I think I will go down 2 or 3 needle sizes to keep the cuffs a little more snug around my wrist. I have been wearing this sweater all morning, and especially here at the neck. I hate when things stretch out. Like I said, I like a very snug fitting turtleneck, and I don't like by the end of the day when the turtleneck is sort of hanging away from your skin and sort of dangling there. I like it right close up against my skin. That is probably not the norm. But I prefer that. It makes me feel snuggly and cozy and hugged, and I just like it. So I've been wearing this all morning. We've been out and about. We actually went to a local alpaca farm for Small Business Saturday, and I got to see the alpaca, and I got to pick up some yarn from said alpaca. And I will put some footage in here at the end of us visiting the farm. That was a local farm called Silky's Alpaca Farm. And it was just a fun holiday thing to do. We had lots of plans this morning, and I saw this on Instagram, didn't know what was going on. And I asked my husband if we could just maybe take a little detour and go over to Silky's, and it was just amazing. Anytime I can get to spend time with alpaca or sheep or anything woolly just made my day. We bought some wine while we were there and some blue cheese, and it was just a fantastical morning. And so that's my Alma pullover by Sari Nordlund. You can find the pattern on Ravelry. Simple construction. It took me about 2 weeks to knit this, 2.5 weeks. Again, on a size 10 needle, it just sort of flies by. And hopefully, if this yarn combination stays as nice looking as it currently looks and doesn't pill over time and things, this will be a definite thumbs up in my department as far as a pattern and yarn sort of combination that really works for me. But this patterning, I think, is just so beautiful. It is just enough that it gives this sweater just a little bit of elegance up here, I believe, and it doesn't look like just an all all garter or all stockinette stitch. I'm sorry, stockinette stitch sweater. So love it, love it. All right, and the only other finished object that I have to show you are these mitts that I gifted my husband earlier in the week. It was his birthday, and so I had shown these mitts in a previous video. I think I started these mitts over the summer because I wanted to knit, and but it was so hot I didn't want to knit on anything big. So he loves fingerless mitts. He does a lot of things that require his fingertips to be exposed, and so these are called the lambing mitts, and they are by Tolt Yarn. It is a free pattern on Tolt Yarn's blog, and again, these are called the lambing mitts. I will link down below what yarn I used. I don't recall. Like I said, I knit the first one in the summer, and I knit it because I wanted something to knit, and I wanted something to kind of show on one of my first episodes, I believe, that I recorded here on YouTube. And so this fit the bill because it was small and easy to knit out in the warmer weather. And so I knit one and sort of threw them aside in a drawer and never knit the second one. And then when his birthday was coming up, I decided to pull them out and finish them off. And yeah, this is what they came out like. The way they describe them on the blog is that they are lambing mitts, and they were designed during lambing season. And they are purposely and intentionally long around the fingers, and then so that it would keep the workers' fingers warm. You can kind of pull them up and over like that and just keep your fingers tucked in there a little bit. But then when they were working with the lambs and kneading their fingers out, they would just sort of fold this edge down and have a nice little cuff there. And it does. It looks nice and sort of decorative still. These are a little snug on me. Okay, there we go. And so you can just fold them over and have that little edge. And again, I just think the combination of this yarn having a bit of a heathered look to it and the simple construction of the mitts really work nicely and well together. So I thought I would pull them out and show them again, since they're sort of fresh on my mind with pulling them out for my husband's birthday, and wanted to recommend them because I know everybody is gift knitting. I think I knit one mitt in probably 2 days, I think it was. And so these are a great gift knit, and they have a real pretty, I'm trying to get that into the camera there, a real pretty sort of patterning about the stitches. And I think the extra length on there is genius. And I mean, you could probably do that with any mitt, I'm assuming, but I just like the way these are constructed. And so those are the lambing mitts by Tolt Yarns. And that is really my only other finished object. I've been sort of exclusively working on this because I wanted to finish it. I like to show a finished object if I can in the podcast. And so those are my two FOs. I have very little to show, but I have cast on, as everyone is, the Sophie scarf. I have my little spider stitch marker here. I just grabbed him too, still back from Halloween. And so here is the modest beginnings of my little Sophie scarf. I have about 4 of these to knit for gift knitting for Christmas. And oh goodness, I did not include my ball band here. I think this might be it here. I picked this yarn up at my local yarn shop. Yes, here it is. Okay, let me put this down. Okay, so this yarn is buttery soft. It was not super expensive. I'm gonna knit the large version of the Sophie scarf, and The local yarn shop that I go to, Lancaster Yarn Shop, the owner was wearing one the day, or she had a sample of one, and she knit the large, and she told me how easy it is to just kind of keep going a little bit with the way that she includes repeat increases if you wanted something a little bit larger. So her version there was just a little bit larger. She recommended that I buy 2 balls of this alpaca yarn, and I'm going to hold the tag there. This is the Alpaca Yarn Company, Classic Alpaca, and it is color number 2000, so it doesn't really have a name. On the back here I can show you, it's the Alpaca Yarn Company, and this stuff is like butter. It is so soft. I can't even tell you. It's probably the alpaca. It's baby alpaca. 50 grams gives you 110 yards of this baby alpaca. It does have a bit of a halo to it. It's really not coming through on here. Let me see if you can kind of see it on my needles here. But it does have a little bit of a halo. Let me show you the right side so we're looking at the right thing here. It's really not coming. There's a little bit on this side when the sun's shining through it. But the one that she knit really had a beautiful soft and almost cashmere-like look to it from this yarn. And so if you are looking for yarn to knit the Sophie scarf or several Sophie scarves, as I know everyone is doing here before the holidays, I would highly recommend this yarn, like I said, to have that sort of yarn around your neck. Is, I'm hoping for its recipients, going to feel so nice and squishy and soft, and the drape on it is also very nice. And when you sort of tie it, it definitely has a nice drape where the ends where you tie it, I've seen some knit up already where you sort of tie it and the ends like awkwardly sort of are stiffer and they sort of stick there. I know the one Petite Knit showed on her pattern page does not do that. It has like this really nice sort of, I think if you're going to go ahead and tie this scarf around your neck, you sort of do want it to be like drapey and sort of floppy instead of something like sticking right out from your neck. And so, yeah, look into that yarn. My local yarn shop has I think she has about 15 different colors. I chose the red for my oldest daughter, and I chose like a charcoal gray for my second oldest daughter, and both of them are in professions where I feel like they could wear those. My oldest daughter is in fashion, and it'll be really cool, and I will insert footage once I give it to her of how she styles it versus Sorry about that. My camera is letting me know it's low battery, so I better get on the move here. Versus my second oldest daughter, who is in law school and very business oriented and getting ready to get into the courtroom and wear some dressy and business attire. And so she will definitely style it completely different than my fashion loving older daughter. And so I'm really curious to see what they do with it and how they style it. It's such a simple pattern. I really enjoy knitting it. Very intuitive, very easy, can be modified to be bigger or smaller, whatever your preference is. And so I know everyone's familiar, and I just hopped on the bandwagon and knit myself a Sophie scarf. So I'm losing battery. The last thing I want to talk about is the Winter Wishes sock swap that I participated in earlier in the month. I love swaps. I have participated in the past in actual sock swaps where you're paired with somebody and you find out all the information and knit that person a pair of socks. And so that was super fun as well. Because I own a hand-dyed yarn company, I really have a lot of fun sort of getting to know somebody and sneaking around and trying to find out what their real interests are and trying to pair a real specific skein of yarn or a pair of socks, whatever they prefer, with them. And so if you have not participated in the Winter Wishes sock swap, it's over for this year, but next year I highly, highly recommend it. My partner, I have not gotten permission to speak about her, and so I won't use her name, but my partner is just adorable. She is a wonderful knitter. And we had so much fun over the past couple weeks, and I could not believe how much we had common in interests. She is both a plant lover, an animal lover, and a knitting lover, just like myself. And we exchanged stories. She's young enough to be my daughter, and so on my end, it surprised me how many interests and likes that we had in common. And I received my package earlier this week. So I just wanted to quick show you as a means of acquisitions what I got. And so this is one of the best things about the little package that I received. I had told her, because I'm a hand dyer, I try and dye a variety of sock yarns, and so, but my little Clarity Fiber Arts thing is, I would say, like highly variegated, highly colorful style yarns, and so I use a lot of different colors in one skein. I try and dye things, and so that there's really like micro stripes of different things, but I never dye actual self-striping yarn that has the specific things in it. And so I received from her, this is from Pandia's Jewels. I've heard of this yarn company before. This is called the Snug Sock Kit, and I love it. The colorway is Tank Girl, and I just think that's so cool. I'm assuming, Tank Girl is referring to a tank top or some sort of beachy sort of motif. Her and I discussed how much we love the beach so much. And so I think this is just, she couldn't have picked a more perfect colorway. This is a self-striping colorway in all of those colors. And then it has a coordinating mini skein here for heels and toes. And so I was so incredibly tickled by my package. And then she included other little things in it, which is also such a fun, I think, in my gift to her, I tried to include local things that were local to me. And so we both love chocolate. And so I included a little bit of chocolate for her from a local chocolatier. Some of my favorite tea, which is also local and made here locally, just sort of a lavender tea. And again, we both shared a love of chocolate. She included some lotion and some hot chocolate and some other delicious chocolate, which I was forced to share with my husband. He forced me to share it with him. So this box is empty. This is already gone. We ate this the other night, and I'm planning on secretly hiding the hot chocolate and having that in the privacy of my own little knitting time there. And so I think that's everything. Like I said, I want to insert a little bit of footage with the trip to the alpaca farm, but I think that's all for today. I've cast on some Sophie scarves. I have some knitting plans. My knitted in initial attempt, I ordered all this knitted in yarn that I talked about in a previous episode. And a little bit of time has passed, and I've seen some other podcasters speak about how they paired the knitted in yarn with a certain pattern, and it was quite difficult, the pairing of those two, the unspun yarn and the certain pattern, the construction of the pattern just was not working for them. And Goodness knows why, but I chose a cardigan for my husband for my first attempt at working with this yarn. Bottom up construction. The cardigan got quite weighty after a while, and I kept ripping the yarn. It got super frustrating for me, and so I was a little self-conscious about ditching the pattern and starting from scratch, maybe with another yarn. But I've since heard a lot of podcasters talk about how they hold the new end with a fingering weight yarn, for example, in like a DK weight sweater pattern. And so if any of you have done that, or if you know of any patterns, I'm looking for a pattern for a men's sweater. I'd like to knit my husband top down, probably like a raglan style, something a little more on the simple side, but I'm gonna look for a nice fine fingering weight yarn in gray that will pair with the Newton yarn. I have 500 grams of the Newton yarn, and so I think that'll be more than enough to knit my husband a sweater. But I am looking for leave a comment below if you know of any great patterns. In my investigation and my listening to other podcasters, I have seen the single malt men's pullover, which I thought was quite intriguing. But if you know anything about the Newton yarn, it has a lot of halo. It's this particular style and colorway is the gray, and it's quite fuzzy. And so I think something a little more on the simple side that just sort of lets that Newton shine. But if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is the collar of this sweater. So the collar is, I'm wearing it like this, as I said, but question is, do you think that looks funny that way? Good that way? Like too much up around here, like I'm wearing like a neck brace or something? I do like the way it feels. So, but when you turn down the collar, you sort of get this folded over look like that. So do you think that I should fold it over and tack it down? Help me out. I need opinions. I'm not real good. I'm a Gemini. And so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I have a real hard time making decisions, even with little things like this. And so I would love your input. I have really enjoyed so much all of the interaction that I have experienced here lately. This is episode 7 of the podcast, and things are growing and growing, and I've met so many wonderful, nice, sweet knitters in this community, and I just really enjoy showing what I'm up to and getting your opinion about things and showing yarn and pattern combinations. That is my big thing. Like, there's nothing more exciting to me is when you pair a pattern and a yarn together. So I welcome any and all comments if you've got a yarn and pattern combination. One other thing that I saw is the drawing sweater, the drawing pullover, I think it is. It's the one with all the flowers in color work on the top. I would love to knit that too. That is like dream knitting, but I may just cast it on when I'm finished here with some of this Christmas knitting and hopefully have it for a wintertime sweater. So if any of you have done the drawing, I'm not sure if it's the drawing pullover or the drawing sweater, but it's the one with all the flowers on the yoke. That's on my list for dream knitting. So if you've got a good yarn combination, I was hoping to knit it almost exactly as she shows it on the pattern. I believe she knit a light blue version with white flowers. That's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, let's talk about it down below. I just love to interact. And I hope you guys are, let's see, it is November 26th, I believe. And Christmas is fast approaching. So I hope you guys are finding time to grab your knitting and light your tree and sit with a great cup of coffee or tea and just enjoy the glorious season that Christmas is. And I'm hoping to talk to you in about a week or so with some finished Sophie scarves and some new knitting plans. So please take care. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. I have, as I said, experienced a lot of new subscribers, and it just gives me a little thrill every time I get a new subscriber. I get a notification, and it's just fun to meet such lovely people in this community. So you guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. you.